Welcome back to Life Changers Academy. Today we have a webinar on Reading as an Art by Dr. Jain Rajesh, Assistant Professor of English Department at Saratoga College. Welcome you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to see about a lost art, which is almost on the verge of extinct. So that has its own importance, significance in everyone's life, and the art is actually reading. So everyone wants to be a perfect person, a perfect man, and it is a kind of activity that makes everyone perfect. So in the modern era, we just read things, so many things we read, like memes, jokes, even political comics. So all these things we come across in social media. We scroll and read everything. But what I'm talking about is uh, thoughtful reading. So it's an art. This art has been almost reached the level of extinct. So it is lost. So we don't read thoughtful reading. We don't have thoughtful reading nowadays. We just read and we pause on. We just comment. We just talk about the things. But it is not a very deep one. And this reading, this art of reading, it has scientific reactions. So, though we call it as an art, it has scientific reactions to the body, to the mind, to the soul, and it's like a uh, training the thoughts, like bonsai trees. We have short, beautiful bonsai plants. So if you have any ordinary plants, you need more space. It will take more water. But in the modern era, not only in the modern era, even in the ancient times, they had bonsai. And these plants, we just train the roots, we just train the branches. We want them to be small, cute. So, in the same way, reading also trains the mind, the thoughts. So, it gives you how to express, it gives you training to express yourself. And also, it's an exercise to the brain. So, we have exercise for body, we have exercise for arms, abs, and everything. And here, this is an exercise to the brain. So it's totally different from other arts. So this is very, you may think how reading can be an art, or how you may think it's a very simple act, but reading has its own impact, its own benefits to every human being. Basically, it helps in grasping things, that is, grasping thoughts. So, when somebody talks or somebody reads something, it helps you to grasp the idea or the content of the paragraph easily. And also, our brain, you know very well, heart pumps blood 24 hours, 24 cross 7. In the same way, brain also works all the time. Even while sleeping, uh, it is very much alert. Even though we talk about medulla oblongata and it gives the duty to that portion of the brain, we still know the brain is alert and it can awake to very small noises, very small discomforts, and a mild disturbance. So the brain is always awake, and the brain, it needs so many new things. So just like a small baby, the brain always needs something new. So we have to give something new to the brain every day. So that's why the brain remains fresh and clean, so that when you learn something new, when you read something new, it keeps on functioning in a very fresh way. And also, Francis Bacon, a prose writer and also a dramatist of 16th century. He has written, "Reading makes a full man." Actually, in his own language, in the archaic English, he has written, "Reading maketh the perfect man." So, a perfect man, so everyone wants to be perfect. So, reading gives more exposure and makes people perfect. And just we can see the difference or the differences between reading as well as watching videos, because we nowadays watch more videos. In those days, watching videos is a very rare thing. So only in the television we can see some videos, and in those days we don't have YouTubes and everything. So in the past days they had only reading. So this reading, it kindles imagination. Even Einstein, he has told, imagination is the most important thing, even most important than knowledge. So now it kindles imagination because you don't have something before your eyes. So you have to bring something before your eyes. So Mary Corley, a writer, she writes more than 3 pages to bring a beautiful garden, that is just a garden in front of a house, not a palace or anything, a park or anything. Some small garden in front of a house. She has taken 3 to 4 pages to describe the beauty of the garden. So when you read, you just get into the small, even the minutest details of the garden, and it stays there for a long time because it has taken 3 to 4 pages. So it has taken some considerable time to read those pages, and they remain fresh in the mind for a longer time. So we all know reading kindles imagination. So readers they become writers. All the writers were once a reader. So now it also trains brain without stressing it. So if you go for any kind of physical activity, you have to put some strain on your body. And even if you practice acrobats or anything like that, you need to take some stress to practice all these things, whereas this trains the brain without any stress on it, and also helps to focus. That's the main thing we all know. Reading helps people to concentrate more effectively, and it also increases emotional intelligence. So it's not like ordinary things like watching movies or anything. And also increases one's imagination. Not only it kindles, it also increases imagination. And also it makes every reader a co-writer. So when a writer writes something, we just read and we become a co-writer along with the writer. And imagination is also nurtured by reading. So you can imagine watching a mystery or any horror movies. You just get everything on the screen. You just watch. Whereas if it is reading, you have to imagine everything. If it is a thriller, then you have to read the next paragraph or the next page to know what is going to happen. Whereas if you are watching a movie, you know it will happen within 3 or 4 minutes. You'll come to the end. Whereas if you're reading, you have to wait for more than 3 or 4 passages, 3 or pages. So you have to wait and you have to read. It won't just happen in front of you just like any video. You have to read, and then you have to overcome all those surprise and suspense, and then you have to get to the story. So this gives a kind of relief, as well as it increases imagination. So, as we have already know, it's a scientific reaction. So, the scientific reaction is when we read, we read and we get to know about all the facts and the details the writer has received. So when you read Paulo Coelho, you just come across so many minute details. So he writes about the ways, different ways of killing in his Venus Stands Alone. So he writes about the way how people, the tribal people, kill with poisoned arrows, and how scientists may kill with poisonous envelopes and gases. So all those things he writes. So he has gathered a vast, massive knowledge, and he has put forth everything into the novel. And you just sit and relax a novel, and you came to know everything from that novel. And also we criticize. So when we read, we criticize all the characters, or if we read a biography, we criticize the writer who has written the biography of other people. With autobiographies, we used to criticize the activities of the writer who has written about his own life. And also we celebrate. So celebrate is we celebrate writers from poor background. We celebrate tribal writers. We celebrate women writers. So when we celebrate, we empathize with them. So when you came to know about tribal people, you empathize with them. You wanted to do something for those socially backward people. And so we celebrate, and we just consider everyone, and we wanted to do something for others. And also we change. So after reading Wings of Fire, so many young people, they received the spark, and they wanted to do something, and they were inspired, and they wanted to achieve more things in life. So change is always there. When we read, we always change, and that is the most important thing. And here Oliver Wendell Holmes, he talks about a mind that is stretched to a new idea never returns to its original dimension, that is former dimension. So once you read something, everything changes. So you won't go back to the formal level of ignorance. Just like learning, after going first standard and second standard, you don't unlearn things. After learning, you have everything in your heart, and you just keep them, and you never go back to the level of ignorance again. And wherever a writer has written, so there are bits and pieces of yourself scattered in every book you read. So whatever we read, we can find ourselves in those reading. So it's a kind of thing we can find in all the books. And also the books, they identify ourselves, and we also find ourselves in those books. And we nowadays read, but the reading is not find the reading is not found in all the ordinary books or ordinary videos or memes we read in the social media. So this thoughtful reading is analytical, and it focuses and sharpens the mind. So also it shapes the character of people. So like if you watch a movie for 3 to 4 hours, you just complete the movie and come out. But a book that talks about 4 hours needs almost 400 pages. So you have to dwell in the book, you have to dwell in the story, and you have to read. And the characters are engraved in the mind while reading. So you don't just see. So when you watch movies, the actors they have their impacts. So when you see a dialogue, the dialogue is portrayed in the artist, that is the actor. Whereas if it is a book, you can never do that. Every character is a unique character. Every character is individualistic. So, a movie has a short lived impact or influence, whereas reading a book, it takes a lot of time. And the wisdom of the reader, just like Paulo Coelho, Salman Rushdie, are handed down to the readers. So, without editing or without time limit, so they reach the readers through their imagination. And also, a reader here, George R. R. Martin, he tells the reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one. So we all know people wanted to live for a long time. They wanted to stay here and they wanted to enjoy everything. So now a reader, he may visit all the worlds, every world created by other writers. And so he ultimately, the man who didn't read anything, he will be living his only one life. And there are two kinds of reading. One is aesthetic and another one is authentic reading. So authentic reading, we read with purpose, whereas aesthetic reading, we read just to enjoy. We just relax ourselves in reading. And this authentic reading helps to understand any concept. Even we have personal development books. We have books on stress management, time management, so all these things. So these things, these books, they help us to understand the concepts. So we have to manage like that. We have to do like this financial management. So all these things, they help us to understand something about life. And whereas aesthetic books, aesthetic reading, it helps in creativity. So as soon as imagination sets in, there will be lot of creativity, and it relaxes mind. And it helps people to enjoy reading. And this authentic reading, it helps in logic and reasoning. And aesthetic reading as well as authentic reading helps in improving vocabulary. So vocabulary is the most important thing in communication. So whatever field we are working in, we need vocabulary. Otherwise, we can't communicate anything. So, if we know only the names of things we can even buy in a place where we know nothing, so where we couldn't speak any of their language. So, vocabulary can be built by reading, and that too in a very fast way. And because the young learners from 1 to 10, sorry, from 3 or 4 to 10 years old, they learn language very easily because they learn vocabulary as a new thing. So it's easy for them to learn more vocabulary during that stage, and they easily learn any language. And here, Einstein talks about imagination, as I've already mentioned. For knowledge is limited to all we know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world. So, imagination is received through reading. So, when you give a knowledge, when you teach science or maths or whatever it may be, so it is limited. Whereas when you give something for reading, they read and they imagine, and that is a new world. For everyone, it's a new world. So when I think about any character, like when I read about Romeo, and I have a perception, and when you read about Romeo, you have another perception. Maybe the Romeo in your imagination is totally different from mine. So, and all that ever will be to know and understand. So, this is the most important thing. And here are some of the reasons to read, so that you can read and have a good time. So, this is almost uh, a lost art. Almost the art of reading is lost, and people they don't even know what is reading, because we just think reading any article in the Facebook or Instagram is reading. So that is totally different. And even though we have Kindle and screens to read, that is actually not the reading. Reading a book gives you immense pleasure. So I wish all the younger generation must learn to read and revive this art, and you must be benefited from this art, because it's very cheap, not expensive, and you can circulate a book for many years, so that you won't need much investment. So if you want to buy a Kindle or even a mobile, you have to own it for yourself. If it is a book, you can share with your friends, and then you can share with another one. You can circulate. You can have a circulating library even, and you can read. And it helps you in a lot of ways, and it helps you to concentrate, helps you to express yourself, and it makes you all thinkers, dreamers, readers, and then writers. So, wish you all the best, and I hope you will start reading very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time with us. Thank you, everyone, for watching this video. To get your certificate, kindly fill the form in the description. The link will be active only for 48 hours. You will be receiving your certificates through mail within a week. Thank you.